Today we start Mark chapter 6. He went away from there and came to his hometown. His disciples followed him. That's what disciples do. And on the Sabbath he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astonished, saying, "Where did this man get these things? What is the wisdom given to him? How are such mighty works done by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James, and Joseph, and Judas, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. And Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his hometown, and among his relatives, and in his own household." He could not do a mighty work there, except they laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he went out among the villages, teaching. Well, yesterday we saw some great examples of faith by the ruler and by the woman, and now we see unbelief. It's not a case of, well, if you just believe it, it'll happen, but it's also not a case where it doesn't matter, right? There are cases in the Bible where it wasn't the faith of the person, right, where they lowered the paralyzed man down. It was the faith of the friends there. You can tell us about the faith of the paralyzed man. But here there's a distinction between faith and unbelief that's made following the end of chapter 5. And so let's take careful note of that, right? Because context, right? If this story was placed in chapter 8 or 9, maybe it's a little further away and it's just something different. But remember, no chapter and verse in those days when it was written. And so chapter 5 flowed into chapter 6 as we know it. And there wasn't that distinction, that break. And so there's this huge contrast between faith and unbelief. And the unbelief was in his hometown, from his family and from those who knew him growing up. And so it says he couldn't do a whole lot of mighty things, just healed a few people, just that, yeah, just a few. But he marveled because of their unbelief. If you're going to have Jesus marveling about your life, that's probably not what you want him marveling about, right? That's probably not what you want being denoted about you. What great unbelief, right? We live in a time of unbelief, and we don't know what to believe. And our minds are taken from here to there, and we're left with, what do we believe? Well, about a lot of things, you take the information as best you can, and you try to sort through it, and you make a decision. But about Jesus, I hope you've made that decision to trust him completely, explicitly, over anything and above all else, to have faith that he is the Son of God, that he can do anything. And so when we put that in mind and have that firmly established, our prayers will look different because we're praying with belief. The way we live life will be different because we're praying and living with belief. The belief that Jesus is the Son of God, the belief that Jesus saves, the belief that Jesus heals, he's the great provider. All of these things about who God is are wrapped up in Jesus. And so belief matters. And so when we encounter people that say, well, I don't really believe, I just take some of it, or, that's good for you. Let's not just go, oh, okay. Maybe ask some more questions. Well, why don't you believe? What causes you about Jesus to not have you believe? Here it was because they knew him and they couldn't figure it all out. Where did he get this wisdom? How did he do all these great things? And rather than take the time to explore and ask questions, they just simply stayed in their unbelief. And sadly, that's what many do. I hope that's not you. I hope that's something that in time you learned to not just believe, but then to be a person who's open to answering questions and listening to hear where people are at, and see more people come to faith in Christ Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Till next time, little by little.